Okay, so today we're back. My name's Mark Deere and I'm a filmmaker, and I've started making videos the last couple of days. We'll see how long it lasts, but today is my third day doing it, and it's pretty late in the day. It's 5:53, so the latest I've been, because I spent all day today helping my wife Candice, who's a writer and has made a lot of films with me, with formatting her book. So we spent the time doing book formatting. It's about to go out and be published. And yeah, it made me think, kind of following on what I talked about yesterday, which was whether you should persevere or quit depending on different things. Today I was thinking about that last 10%. And I've heard this a lot of times in my life. It's like the last 10% of a project takes 90% of the time. And maybe that's not necessarily true, but it's definitely how it feels. So when you're coming up with a new idea, that's like the funnest time because there's unlimited possibilities, and little by little you narrow it down to being just this one thing. And usually in the process of creating some piece of creative, art, whatever it is, I can talk specifically to filmmaking, the process is really fun. So like script writing is the greatest because possibilities are endless, but once you have your script locked down, it's still fun getting everything ready, pre-production, figuring out what you're going to do next, especially because usually by the time you finish writing and you've done extra drafts and you know that it's finally ready to go, you're ready to move on to the next phase. So you could probably, what I'm talking about today, you could probably refer to each phase as well of the process. But yeah, you get the production done, great. Process is awesome, you're in production. Even post-production, when you first do your edit, I mean, that's one of the most creative and amazing times in filmmaking, I'd say, because people say, you write your film 3 times when you're writing it, when you're in production and you make decisions in production, and then when you edit it, that's the final kind of time you write the film. And so when you get that first edit done, like not just your rough cut is probably the most exciting, but even the first fine cut, at that point, it's kind of like, yes, pure creativity. And from then onwards, it's just polish. And anyone who's made a film before would know that that last part of polish takes at least, the same amount of time as editing, but I'd say usually for me, 5 times longer, much longer. When you think about things like audio editing and scoring and tweaking things in edits and making sure the sound's all perfect, the sound is the real killer. And it gets to a point, some people love sound, but it does get to a point where it becomes a grind. And you really, I guess this is the point where you decide, like talking about finishing projects, which I did in my last video, this is the point where you'd probably question, is this worth continuing? I mean, not that I've had projects that haven't ended sooner, but it's definitely, you think, is it worth, now that I've seen everything, I've done the creative part, the process part of this is done. So at this point, it's just about the product. But if I'm only in it for the process, then the process is done. I don't want to do that grindy bit. Let's just call this project done. But if you really want to get something finished, that last 10% takes a very, very long time. And I mean, like I said, I learned that today with Candice. I'd done a bit of proofreading, so I've read the book, 3 or 4 times at this point, and made notes. And she has a proofreader who did proofreading as well. So she had these pages of, I don't know how many pages it was, but hundreds of changes, and fixes. And it could be complicated things, like this is a continuity area, fix this up, and it could be simpler things like, I don't know if you can see that, there's a scrubbed turkey walking through our shot. I don't know if you saw that, he's right there. Anyway, so yeah, and some things just add a comma here, or remove this comma, or remove this word or letter or something. Simple fixes. And so Candice had already gone through all the changes and spent, I don't know how long, a really long time. So she wanted me to go back with her and go through change by change and check that all the changes were done. And oh my goodness, it took us all day. Look, the changes were already done. We were just checking that the changes were done. And I think we found 2 errors out of the hundreds of things that needed to be fixed. So was it worth it? Yes, probably, because it's about to go to print. But it was a lot of time, like a whole day. And I wasn't really expecting it to take that long. And I think that's the biggest killer. And that's why people say the last 10% takes 90% of the time, because you're basically done. You're basically done at this point. And just every little thing that you don't think it'll take as long as it takes, and every little thing takes the time that it takes. And so to really make something finished, to get to that point, and I guess you'd probably say the last 1% takes a certain amount of time, or I guess it takes the most balls, because that last 1% is where you decide, okay, is it time to get this thing into the world, or do we want to keep fixing little, like we've done most of the fixes, we've spent most of the time, at what point do you just say, it's done? And I think this is one of the hardest things that I recently saw. I talked about Orson Welles, I don't know if it was last video or one before, That's what I'm saying. Like, he never watches his films back after they're finished because he just can't. He sees it and he goes, oh, I should have done that one last thing. Would have only taken me a little bit of time. Oh, I should have, So he just didn't watch his films back once they'd been recorded. And there's something to be said for that, I think, because you do at some point. And most recently, like my most recent long form project was in 2019. We made a web series called Who Killed Romeo and Juliet? And it did really well. I mean, it won awards and stuff, so obviously people weren't that nitpicky about it. But still now, I mean, I watch it back fairly regularly. I've shown it to students, and fairly regularly is probably a stretch. Like once a year, I've probably watched it, or once every 6 months or something, if I was showing somebody, so I watch it with them. And yeah, there are definitely issues with some of the sounds, but it's like that. We just had to reach the point where we said, enough's enough. Like, we've spent many, many months on this sound stuff. Like, it's done. Like, where there were errors, it's like they're in there. They're in there forever, and it is done. So that's, I guess, the last 1%. But that last 10% is the difference between something rough and something, polished and complete. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there, I guess, who would hit that 90% and not realize that there's 10% to go. And I guess as you get more experience over time, your version of the last 10% is going to change. And maybe for me, it's changed as well. I think about our first project, but no, because the 10%, it still has to be done. Like on the first project, we still had to record ADR, had to do all the sound editing, had to, sound is the killer in film. But I guess you just get better at it. You get better at fixing things and better at knowing how to make it high quality. But yeah, I think I'm very much in the mode of we're still in the process, but this is the part of the process that's no longer fun, no longer glamorous. It's just a grind. Nobody will ever understand. They'll read that book and they will have no idea of the number of hours that after it was written, after it was rewritten and rewritten in a number of drafts, the number of times it had to be read, every little thing that had to be tweaked, like layout stuff in typography to make a line so that the spacing's right. Like same as in a film, like every piece of sound. And it's like, you put in the effort so that you don't, when you do revisit it, you can say, yes, I did everything I could on that. Maybe that last 1%, you go, no, it's done. The time trade-off isn't worth the extra little tweaks I'm going to make now. These extra little tweaks now won't make a difference to the final outcome of whoever is going to consume this product, because they're not going to notice these things. You're having them in there for the purpose of polish, but at this point, you've watched the project or read the book so many more times than any human being is ever going to do it. And so I guess you just have to know it. I mean, I don't know how many projects I've done at this point, but it's the same with corporate work or TV ads. Like, the writing phase is fun. So it might not feel like it's taking 90% of the time, but like that last 10% to get it to complete, to get it to polished is definitely, it's definitely the time where you least want to still be working on the project. You're kind of done. And like I said earlier, when you talk about phases, there's, the first phase of writing and then the phase of production and the phase of post-production and the phase of marketing. Like each phase kind of has its own 10% to get it to the end, and you get to the end of production, you're like, oh, I just want to be in editing. You get to the end of writing, you're like, oh, I don't want to do a 5th draft, a 6th draft, a 20th draft, And so it exists within it, but in the greater whole of the project, I think the most grindiness is that last pre-release 10%. And so, yeah, so that was what was playing on my mind today. And I think it's one of those things where the more you make it, the more you acquiesce and realize, I just have to sit. This will take as long as it takes. Why did I get into this project in the first place? I really want to get to the next phase. So for Candice's book, it'll be marketing, I guess, like once the book is published. Because I'm just done with this phase. I'm done with this phase. And so, yeah, I mean, it was good. And we were both just so relieved, half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, when we got through the last note. And it was, I mean, my brain is mush. Like one thing we did was we had to go through a lot of the dashes, and you have a dash between words. And then when you space words with a dash, because it's a separate idea or to distinguish something, you'd use an M dash or an N dash. And so we had to N dash by N dash go through the book. And it just, oh my goodness, that just took so long. Took over an hour, like maybe 2 hours. It took a really long time because you had to check, is this one that needs to be converted to an N dash or is it just a dash? And it's the same thing when you're doing a film project, and I'll be the same once I'm doing the last 10% of my documentary that I'm starting work on, Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. So yeah, I mean, I could probably talk about it all day long, but I'm interested, like I said, the reason I'm doing this channel is I want to build a community. I want to talk to people like me, or people who are trying to do the things I'm trying to do. Like there can be people at the beginning of their journey, like you've never made a film and you're thinking about making a film. Or you could be someone who's made 100 films and you're just looking for solidarity, someone who's done a lot of films, or you could be a far higher level than me. I said in my first video, I'm no expert. I've directed 5 feature films, 3 that got finished. I've done an hour-long web series. I've made, I don't even know, maybe 1,000 corporate videos and TV ads, a lot of corporate videos and TV ads, which were all probably, you know, like this is all paid work. Whereas my independent film productions have all been no budget, you know, bootstrapped, done by me projects. And what I'm, with this documentary I'm going to do, that's kind of just going to wrap that up with a bow as I move into my next phase, which is to get back into making more films. I'm excited about getting back into filmmaking. And as I've said, it's funny because I was going to talk today, and I might have to talk about it another day, that this kind of segs into another idea. And I might do that as a separate video tomorrow, that I'm on long service leave from work. I was a teacher for 10 years. I'm still a teacher, but after 10 years, you get long service leave. So I'm on leave for the next 4 months, 5 months. And I can do whatever I want in my leave. So I guess I can, you know, I could travel. That's what most people usually do. They have a holiday. But I'm not really planning on doing that. I might go to Melbourne to do a film shoot, or I'm going to go to Winton and do a film shoot. But I want to make things. Because I guess while I was teaching, I was helping people to make their own films, but not making my own films. You know, like I did make the web series in 2019, but in that 10 years, I mean, I was doing little projects here and there. I also made a web series with my kids I've done 3 episodes of. One got into a film festival earlier this year. But yeah, I want to work on some new projects. I want to try and make a really polished short film, and I want to make something long form. So I'm going to do my documentary. But I was thinking this morning, and as I say, I might talk about this in my next video, but I was thinking this morning about the fact that I am on leave. And when you're in a transition phase, it's like when you have space in your life, what do you do? Because I'm 43 years old and I've always had work, even when I wasn't being paid for the work, like doing independent films. And I had some other paid job as well. And even in this paid job, I'm always doing kind of creative work on the side. And it's like, now I have this space. Should I take advantage of the space, or should I, you know, fill the space with projects? Because I said it didn't take long to be helping Candice with her book today, to be doing these videos every day. Like, so the time when I could potentially have been, you know, would have been doing teaching, and now I could just chill out, just watch a movie, or, you know, do whatever I want to do. I don't know. What I want to do is make things, so here I am. So I guess I've answered my own question, but tomorrow I might talk about that. Filling, when you have space in your life, what should you fill it with? Should you fill it with projects, or should you relax to avoid burnout? Burnout's another thing I could easily talk about. I'm not burnt out on these videos because I'm in the honeymoon period, but that'll be another idea for another video. So I think I'm going to wrap up for today talking about the last 10% and how it takes 90% of the time, and how it's probably the hardest part of any creative project. It feels like the least creative part. There's still creativity to be found in that time, but it feels like a grind, and it's tricky. And having just done a bit of it today with Candice, I mean, I've got nothing compared to her, the amount of hours she's put into her latest book, but you still feel it, you know? And so I'm excited to hear from, I mean, I'm 3 videos in. I don't know who's going to be in this community. So, but, you know, you might be watching this video. What's today? Today is the 24th of September, 2025. So, you know, if you're watching this on the 24th of September, 2026, I'm still interested to know, how do you feel about projects? How do you feel about that last 10%? Does it feel like it takes up 90% of the time? Do you have some strategy to help you get through it? Do you take a break? Or I don't know what you do. But it's funny, I was thinking about this with the first 2 videos I made. Like, I'm not used to just talking. You could argue because I'm a teacher, I am, but I'm not. I'm used to a discourse. I like talking to the people I'm working with. I want to know where they're at. And unless you can gauge where someone's at, how do you know what you're meant to be talking about? So I don't know if this is helpful for anybody, and I don't know if this is going to, you know, give anybody any kind of validation. I mean, I know really in reality that nobody is probably going to watch this video. Very few people watch this video. Maybe by the time I've made 100, somebody might be interested in what I'm making. But if you're watching it, thank you very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe. My goal is to make 100 of these videos in the next 100 days. But, well, I guess 97 of these videos in the next 97 days. But, yeah, and, you know, like it if it was good, or I guess dislike it if it was bad. I don't know. Then I'll get real feedback. But, yeah, I mean, having done this for 20 years, I feel like I definitely have things to say, but I'd much rather talk to someone who is a beginner, or talk to someone who is more advanced than me, or talk to someone at my level, because it's the conversation that is exciting to me. And it's the collaboration. This is why I love film. It's collaborative medium. And it's the work, like working with Candice today. We both felt that grindy feeling. I don't know. We'll see how long I do this. I mean, I don't know. I'm 3 days in. I'm interested to try and be more like myself. And I don't know how I'm going to do that without someone to talk to. And I said to Candice, I might start bringing her on once a week and we can talk about creativity together so you can see me and my usual self. I don't know, I feel like I'm not used to presenting in front of a camera my whole life. I've spent behind the camera. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you for watching. I'm going to, stop taking up your time now. I really appreciate if you've watched this video all the way to the end. And yeah, please comment. I'm very interested to hear from everybody. And that's it. Until tomorrow.